George Lucas's quotes directly from his mouth, from the Vanity Fair interview that was taking place a while back. Here we go. Anakin as Skywalker as a human being was going to be extremely powerful, but he ended up losing his legs and an arm and became partly a robot. So a lot of his ability to use the Force, a lot of his powers, are curbed at this point, because as a living form, there's not that much of him left. So his ability to be twice as good as the Emperor disappeared, and now he's maybe 20% less than him. So that isn't what the Emperor had in mind. He wanted this really super guy, but that got derailed by Obi-Wan. So he finds that, with Luke, he can get a more primo version if he can turn Luke to the dark side. You'll see as this goes on, Luke is faced with the same issues and practically the same scenes that Anakin is faced with. Anakin says yes, and Luke says no. You learn that Darth Vader isn't this monster, Lucas says. He's a pathetic individual who made a pact with the devil and lost. And he's trapped. He's a sad, pathetic character, not an evil big monster. I mean, he's a monster in that he's turned to the dark side and he's serving a bad master. And he's into power and he's lost a lot of his humanity. In that way, he's a monster. But beneath that, as Luke says in Return of the Jedi early on, I know there's still good in you. There's good in you, I can sense it. Only through the love of his children and the compassion of his children, who believe in him, even though he's a monster, does he redeem himself. Now, this is what I really like about Vader. He isn't the monster. He's just made a bad deal and it kind of ruined his life. That's relatable to many people in the world. You make a bad decision and you kind of get stuck in that way because, well, you're stuck. But there's always a way out. You can always change, just as Vader did. His ability to be twice as powerful as the Emperor is saying a lot, considering Palps beat Yoda in a fight, and Yoda was the most powerful Jedi Grandmaster. You know, with the exception of Mace in some scenarios where the pod could be used. But in the Force, Yoda was the king. Now, in the end, it wasn't Obi-Wan's power that beat Anakin, it was his own arrogance that beat him. Kind of just like Maul. You know the story. Now, to have someone twice as powerful as the Emperor would mean that he'd be a very powerful entity in Star Wars. By far the most powerful that has ever lived. At this point, he'd be able to shoot Force lightning because he'd still have his hands, and he'd literally be able to incinerate enemies to ash instantly. He'd probably be able to jump or kind of fly for extended periods of time. He'd deflect just about any Force attack out there, and he'd heal himself through Force drain. This means basically he'd take the life of other life forms and just suck it out of them and put it into himself, healing himself and making him somewhat immortal. Now, one of the main things that Anakin would have developed would have been his ability to see into the future. This was Anakin's greatest gift, and the one that he lost on Mustafar after Obi-Wan dealt him the cards that he'd be left with forever.